So Janet, some crazy things have been happening down there in Mexico. I know you just recently relocated and found yourself in a situation. So what's been going on?
I want to give like a little background here. I moved recently, like about a week ago, to San Cristobal de las Casas in Chiapas from the Yucatan, where I was living in a seaside port in the Gulf of Mexico. And I moved to Chiapas basically to get away from the infernal heat of the Yucatan so that I could finish my book. And the book deals with issues that are very strangely echoing now in terms of what's happening to me here. The book, which is entitled Exile, and I'm nearly finished with the first draft, deals with the political forces at play that caused me to basically flee my country, which is the U.S., back in 2008. And I have been living outside of the U.S. since then. So basically, I left the U.S. There was an assault on my person by police officers, which nearly was legal. And following that, I embarked on a life as somebody with a bullseye on her back. And I ended up moving. The assault took place on January 3rd of 2003, and I ended up moving to Medford, Oregon, where I worked as a reporter at the American Hotel. And at that time, I was beginning to delve further and further into government corruption, government iniquity, and found again the police began to circle me like sharks up in Medford. And there was entrapment. I had drugs planted in my home 3 times. All 3 times I was lucky enough to stumble upon them before the police showed up and arrested me. This is entrapment at its purest form. And then there were some other issues going on with the police, and at some point it just became too dangerous for me to stay, and I left. So I have been here now in the Yucatan for, I guess, going on 3 years. I was elsewhere in the world before that. And then I moved to Chiapas very recently. And I've had a continued intelligence presence in my life ever since, predating the assault on by the police, which was basically the impetus behind the assault by the police. So things have been very interesting now for some time, and I decided that I was, at some point, that I really wanted to talk about this too much publicly, and I was going to focus on my work because it is the issues going on inside our country, the takedown of our rights and freedoms, that is what is important. Individual stories are horrific, but the issues envelop us all. So for most of my writing career and broadcast career, I've been trying to focus on the issues, mostly having to do with the attacks on the disabled and elders through our court guardianship proceedings, and also the court biological issues. So I moved about a week ago. I came out about 3 weeks before that, found a lovely place up in the mountains. There's cabins here. There's 4 habitations on the property. It's in Colonia Los Alcanfores in San Cristobal de las Casas, and the street I'm on is Calzadas Daniel Sarmiento Rojas. So here I am up the hill, and I got here a week ago to find that my landlord had already been contacted. And he was very nervous. His nervousness, he was just simply bleeding nervousness, and, which in and of itself is not, it's remarkable, but it's not necessarily meaning anything having to do with me. However, things began to transpire very quickly and I realized that he had been contacted. And this is what happened when I first got here. I have a 2-story cabin. Upstairs is my bedroom, and downstairs is the front door, which is really the only direct access in. and all of the windows and the terrace door upstairs in my bedroom, everything has deadbolts, but the front door did not. So I wanted to put on a deadbolt, being a person who has had her privacy invaded in the past.
Many times.
And, well, anybody. This is a natural. Sure. I'm a woman living alone, and I want a deadbolt inside my door. Well, my landlord had a fit. That was the first sign that something. He didn't want me putting that deadbolt on. He has the key as well as I. So I insisted, very nicely. I became insistent, and I installed the deadbolt. And I've been here for a week, and for 3 nights out of the 7 nights, someone unlocked the door from the outside. This puts my safety and security at great risk.
Oh, yeah.
And I want to talk about what I'm really afraid of here. As I mentioned, my decision to leave my country was based on continued issues of entrapment. I don't use drugs. I don't smoke cigarettes. I'm actually almost as close to a teetotaler you can be in terms of alcohol without belonging to AA. Okay, so I'm just not involved in self-medication. So having drugs planted in my house is an almost absurd attempt to frame somebody who is not involved in the drug culture at all.
Right.
So if somebody has access to my domicile and is trying to enter, then the first thing that I'm concerned about is entrapment. For example, since the landlord has the key, let's say that the landlord put something in my house that wasn't mine, whether it was contraband, like drugs or guns. Guns are contraband in Mexico. Then it would be a quick call to the cops, and off I'd go.
Right.
Okay, so that's
into a Mexican jail, which is even worse.
Well, Mexican jails are abominable, and also what could happen, of course, would be that I would be deported, which is, I don't want to return to my country. My country assaulted me, and I choose not to live under that level of scrutiny and bad attention.
Well, let's get into why this happened. This all goes back to your work with the fighting these evil conservators and your personal struggle, because you were robbed of your rightly inheritance by these
It doesn't go back to my inheritance. It goes back to the murder of my mother.
Yes.
The murder of my mother by the conservator. And, the fact is that conservators are killing their wards. Now, there's a lot of talk about Obama and the death panels, but conservators are already making these decisions, and they're already terminating the lives of their wards. Now, we don't have the time or really the scope, I think, right now to go into, why this thing happening to my mother would incur the police presence that I've been inflicted with over the years.
Well, what happened is
the book that I'm working on goes into that in depth, and I've been reluctant to discuss this publicly. It's a very complicated thing that happened,
right?
And I'm writing the book basically to say, okay, this is what happened. This is the record. Okay, I am creating the record, and this is what happened. But I've been very reluctant to talk about this on the air because, well, first of all, the personal impact of all this has been quite significant and difficult, to deal with. But it's a complicated issue that happened because there was an intelligence operative who showed up in my life. I've written about this. The article is called Happy Birthday, Agent Smith. And essentially, he lured me into a relationship with him, and as a result, my mother ended up dead, and I was assaulted by the police. Lucky I was. So, I'm down here in Mexico trying to write the book, and I am right now very concerned. Howard, I'm afraid to leave the cabin. He has, the landlord's been compromised, he has the key, and if I leave,
Yeah, what can he do? He can go in. If you're not in there, he can go and plant something like you said and set you up.
Increase some public awareness of what's happening to me. And, to that end, I really appreciate your taking this. I thank you very much, Howard, because, I have to leave here. I mean, I'm going to run out of food. I'm going to run out of my bottled water, and I have to go into town and get some groceries. And I don't want to feel that that's going to be an arrest occurring event.
Well, if God forbid something like that happens, like I said, we've got it on record that it's a setup.
And just to reiterate, this story really, although it is about my particular situation, the story casts a great, I think, broad sort of sweeping beacon on the takedown of our rights and liberties within the U.S. It is one person's story, but this is the course that our country is on. And so in the course of, some people, and I've been mentioning to people that I'm working on the book, and suddenly all these people started to show up in my lives. Oh gosh, my cat's making a lot of noise in the background. They want to agent the book, right? I'm an international lawyer, and I've got contacts, and I want to agent your book. Well, when I looked into who this person was, he was an FBI snitch, and it was sort of like this was not uncommon knowledge. And then somebody else shows up, well, I want to edit your book, and this person also has, shall we say, clandestine contacts. So there's something about this book that's very electric. And I'm intent on finishing it, and I'm intent on finishing it without getting arrested. So...
Exactly. Hey,
thank you. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, thank you, Janet, for getting the information out, because your story, like you said, is not a unique story. This is there's like a Gestapo, like a mafia that is working to, they're controlling rackets. In this case, they're controlling the conservatorship and eugenics racket with the nursing homes. I mean, I know there's a connection with all these corrupt lawyers and all these corrupt conservators. There's no doubt.
Well, I really would like to focus on the word of eugenics, because this is what this is really about, and this is where my awareness began of what our country is about. And the eugenics programs, conservatorship, death panels, nursing homes, but it goes beyond that, because as you know, I've been also revealing and uncovering domestic delivery systems for biological weapons. And this has nothing to do with conservatorship or guardianship. This has to do with any and all of us. People don't generally care that much about what happens to you. They don't want it to happen to them. That's what they care about.
That's right.
And I really want to thank you for getting this on the record, because I've got to go into town. I've got to get some groceries, and that should not be something that is going to cause legal problems for me.
Right.
Thank you, Howard.
You're very welcome, Janet. Thank you, and I'll get this out, and I want to thank you for joining me.
I want people to know where I am.
What's the name of the town you're in again?
San Cristóbal de las Casas in Chiapas.
Oh my goodness, I can never say that. I was going to say that, but thank you for saying it. That's where you are, Janet. I'll speak to you again soon. Keep in touch. God bless. And
God bless.
Vaya con Dios.
Vaya con Dios. Okay, adios.
Adios.